I want more people to come into the truth of the oppression of white patriarchy, colonialism, and begin to detach themselves.
A growing health, wellness, and leadership podcast designed for you to become your most empowered self.
Great day, amazing humans. Welcome to the Empowered in My Skin podcast, where our mission is to help 1 billion people in this world think in more empowering ways. Empowered humans empower humans. So you are the right spot to become a lead domino for empowerment today. So let the show begin. Great day. I don't know why I always clap, but great day, amazing humans. Welcome. Our guest today is a dedicated mother, a descendant of the Underground Railroad, an extraordinary leader whose work bridges philanthropy, justice, and cultural identity. She descends from African survivors of the transatlantic slave trade and holds deep connections with Cherokee and Lumbee people. With over 25 years as a fundraising executive, she founded a pioneering agency to promote equity and belonging. An award-winning author and scholar, she has significantly impacted the field of equity, diversity, and inclusion. She honors Indigenous resilience while confronting the legacy of colonization. So please join me in a gigantic, huge podcast welcome for Nneka Allen. No.
You say it now?
No. Nneka. Okay, let me just do the last part. So please join me in a big podcast welcome for Nneka Allen. Woo!
Hey, hey.
And I am so excited to interview you. As I shared in the B-roll, my team is going to be very excited because they found you, and I owe you a story because I need to understand. I think it was actually the executive producer who proudly found you, and said, we got to get her on. So I'm going to put it out to Trisha Blake. I believe it's Trisha, but I will get the story and I'll share it with you. So, but really, really happy. I do have a question because when we first reached out, I thought there was something really, really inspiring that came back. But before I do, I'm going to kick off the podcast with our infamous question. What was the most empowered thought you've had of the day so far?
Oh, of the day.
You're like, the year, let me go. She's like, oh, the day, hold on.
Or something. I don't know what I was going to say, but then I was like, oh, the day, presence. Okay. I don't know if it was a thought as much. Well, I guess it started with a thought, because behavior begins with thought. I had some time between my last meeting and then this recording. And typically I would just spend some time in my office and, do some things that, I don't always want to get done. But instead, I thought, no, the sun is shining. I'm going to go and I'm going to get a snack and I'm going to go sit on my balcony, be in nature, literally not doing anything. And so I have 2 rocking chairs and an ottoman on my balcony off of my living room that looks out on big, tall trees, BC, British Columbian trees. I just put my head back and put my feet up and listen to the birds and felt the wind, the warm wind on my face, and just settled into myself.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
That felt really good. I set a little timer because I thought, I don't want to go.
You could stay out there for a while.
I could go to sleep. But it was just beautiful to just be with myself and to be present in the moment and just be aware of the environment around me. And I can't help but feel gratitude.
Yeah.
I'm able to be in those moments. And so in retrospect, that I think is probably the most empowering thing.
Empowering moment. I love that. And you just empowered me, and you actually empowered me because I remember I took a walk. I went to the retail. I went to a mall, but I didn't do any retail therapy. But what I will say is when I came back and you just reminded me, there was a moment in my walk that I was just like, oh, I'm getting vitamin D therapy right now. You know, the sun is shining, it's beating on my beautiful brown skin, and I'm feeling power, like, you know?
Yes, yes. There's
Mhm.
nothing like that feeling of the sun on your
Yeah, on your skin. Need it more often. I know. so, so
skin.
it's fun. That was a great segue because when we first reached out to you and I was sharing with you in B-roll, um, I caught the email and I was really, really inspired because what I really respected about the message and what it appeared to be, and maybe you can um, like give a little bit more context. It felt like you take a sabbatical, and I love the email because you're very unapologetic about it. Um, but at the same time, I think it's like your message also may encourage a reader to do the same for themselves. And so, yeah, and now I know you take two. So tell us a little bit about these moments of rest that you take, because I think it's very
Yes, yes, I
inspiring.
call them my summer and winter Sabbaths. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't call them sabbaticals because sabbaticals are something that someone offers you that gives you
Mm-hmm.
permission to take, and Sabbaths are something you take.
Thank you. Thank you for that distinction.
And that distinction was brought to me by Tricia Hersey, who wrote the book Rest is Resistance, and I really love that the reorientation of thinking around rest and taking time to rest.
Mm-hmm.
So I typically don't work in the month of June, and I don't work in the month of December. It started
Mm-hmm.
out as only December. For obvious reasons, holidays and family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I always felt like I was not enjoying it enough, right? I didn't have enough time, and I just wanted to be able to be present and to slow that time down and to be with my family, but also, nourish myself,
Mm-hmm.
going back into a new year. And so that was sort of easy. Half of that month, most people are sort of off doing
Mm-hmm.
anyhow. But then when I moved to British Columbia a few years ago, I moved in June. And in advance of that, I thought, oh, I have to take the month of June off because moving is such a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Moving across the country is an even bigger deal. And, I'm not young. And I thought, I don't want to try to juggle work and moving. And so I said, I'm going to take the month of June off. And what I realized during that time off, although it was filled with moving responsibilities and whatnot, was that I really enjoyed having that pause in summer
Mm-hmm.
months. And I could feel a difference in my body taking that time. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what inspired me to take the month of June off going
Mm-hmm.
forward. And so I've been doing that for a few years now. And I think it's important that I think it's important for me
Mm-hmm.
to share with people why I'm resting, particularly because I think as a Black woman, sharing my my commitment to rest, I view that as a form of resistance, as a
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm. I think I know where you're going.
yeah, it's a way to push back on dominant culture.
Mm-hmm.
It is a way to claim space.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's foreign for most people to see Black women do that
Mm-hmm.
and do that in service of themselves.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
So it's great to take the Sabbath, but I think it's equally important to explain to people why I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
To me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really funny whenever I'm leading up to one of my Sabbaths, I have to put time on my calendar to sit down and like write my away message, so that people, every time they write me, they know why I'm not getting back to them. And that practice also disciplines me around why this is important and
Mm-hmm.
what it serves, right? And so it refocuses me on its purpose, which is not to fill the time with a million things because I have, a whole month, but really to think about the things that nourish me,
Mm-hmm.
the things that bring me joy. And for a person who's pretty organized and whose days are filled with a lot of regiment.
Mm-hmm.
There's something really liberating about having days that are unassigned.
Yeah, I like that unassigned. You know, what came up for me when you said that, it was like a form of resistance. Immediately, I thought about like some of the language that we, especially women in in senior roles, people have said it to me, oh, you're like the level that you're at in technology, you know, wasn't easy. Like you never stopped. Like people don't recognize how much you had to work. And so that thought came so quickly that is very, we do it to ourselves as well. That when you see us at our top levels, just know it wasn't easy, you know. And I so that's what resonated when you said that. I was like, oh, I get that. I get where you're going. It's like culturally, it's almost like we're constantly having to work in order to be able to just even get anywhere.
Well, so much
When
of
yeah,
our value historically, especially for Black women, is wrapped up
in work,
in work and what
yeah.
we can offer,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Versus what we give to ourselves.
And what we need,
Mm-hmm.
right? You
Yeah.
know, I think prioritizing rest is a way to reclaim our humanity.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. This is such a good next episode because the last episode was called prioritizing rest, and I was going to ask you like one of the things I'm learning to really adopt, and so far it's been good, is learning to work from rest versus resting from work, and that flip of mindset, um, making it part of my day, which is like today I took that walk, and when I came back, there was just a maybe it was a sun kiss, maybe it was just just I actually like rest. I think to many means that you're going on vacation. When in reality, it's just stepping away. And to your point, what did you call it? Like unassigned time? I
Yes,
like that word. I'm gonna steal it from you.
please do.
Yeah, that's yours. I love it. Okay, so let's get right. Let's get a little bit more into the conversation. But thank you for sharing, and I want to let
Absolutely.
you know that it really inspired me, and I think that became this domino. I think the Holy Spirit was speaking to me from your message. Then I did this Bible app. Then I learned about working from rest versus resting from work. Yeah, so
That's beautiful.
yeah. So you're helping me. Thank you. So I would love to get us started. Right, the backstory who you, of is always so important to really understanding about who you are on today. And so maybe even it's about sharing a specific moment in your story or your career that profoundly impacted maybe your approach to like leadership, the advocacy work that you're doing, but like a little bit of that backstory, if you can help us get to, sort of where we see you on today.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say, for me, it's funny. At where I sit now, I can look back and I can very clearly see how I got here. But I can tell you when I was in those times, I was thinking, what in the world is happening here? And I don't know where this is going to go. My career began in the late 90s in a community museum, and that was for a museum that preserved Black history. And so I was in an environment with Black people. But after 9/11, tourism was impacted. And I ended up leaving the community museum, and I ended up moving into healthcare. And so fundraising in the health sector. And so I immediately found myself in environments where I was the only person of color, the only Black woman on the team. And inevitably, with time, my experience of exclusion, of racism emerged and reemerged and emerged again and reemerged. And I found myself having to either digest or fight against what was happening to me. And despite the fact that I was having like real success in my work, I was still having these experiences. And so, once I got to the point where people would, believe me to be, a senior level fundraiser, I started mentoring other young fundraisers of color, particularly women. And I started to see the same issues and struggles in their circumstances, in their organizations, which caused me to begin to look at the charitable sector more clearly, if you will. And I started to see a real pattern of behavior around the way that young Black women generally, Black people in the charitable sector are being treated. And it's interesting that, when you begin to see the problem and the problem becomes very clear to you, how the Lord, reveals to you that you're part of the solution to that, or you have a role to play. And I can tell you, I've never wanted to be an entrepreneur. My mother was an entrepreneur. My brother's an entrepreneur. My father was an entrepreneur for a period of time. Like, I thought, everybody in the family can't be an entrepreneur. And so I just did not have a desire to be an entrepreneur. So I call myself a reluctant
entrepreneur.
I would say less so now, but definitely in the beginning, I was not looking to work for myself, but I did know that I had a role and responsibility in the problem that was making itself plain to me. And so I went back to school. I studied intercultural communication. I then spent a little time thinking about, what modalities I would like to use to begin to affect change in these environments. And I thought coaching would be one of the best models for that. And so I went back to school again to study coaching, and got a certification in that. And the whole time I just decided to be obedient, and I just started my business, and I started it part-time. And then COVID happened. Yet again, the only Black person in my organization, the only certified fundraiser in the organization was
of your where you were working, or now working, and then part-time you had your business.
Foundation. Yeah. I was let go, the only fundraiser, the most
only Black,
the only Black, the only certified fundraiser. And so that was a very clear indication and clue to me that it was time for me to take my business full time. In addition to that, there was a real sort of synergy of moments right at the same time this was happening, which was a project that I had been working on with a group of Black Canadian fundraisers called Our Right to Heal. And this was a project that we had been nurturing for almost over a year. And it was a collection of first-person narratives about our experiences as Black Canadian fundraisers and the harm that's come to us, but our right to heal from that time. And that project was supposed to be published by the Association of Fundraising Professionals Global in January of 2020, but it got delayed, and we didn't want it to be published in February. And so it was supposed to be in March. Well, we all know it happened in
March. Yeah.
And so it got delayed. And so we didn't know when it was going to get published. And then the next thing we knew was that there was this date set in May. The date was set by them, didn't have any real relevance to us. We said, okay, great, it's happening. Well, it turned out that the day that Our Right to Heal was published was the day after George Floyd was murdered.
Wow, it's God's timing.
That timing is remarkable because it allowed the environment, the people,
yes, to pay attention,
to hear and pay attention to what we were saying. That gave life to the book, Collecting Courage. And so all of those things happened right at the same time. Our Right to Heal was published, I think, 1 week after I was let go, and my business went full time. And then we were just catapulted into this process of writing Collecting Courage. And so the rest is sort of history. It just sort of like, it opened up.
Can you talk a bit about the narratives of that book and how it, has resonated with your own experience?
Absolutely.
It's a co-edit. It was how many authors? How many?
Yeah, there's 14, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's an anthology, and it's mainly Canadian authors, but we have a handful of American authors, all Black, writing about their experiences of racism. And the book is divided into four themes.
Mm-hmm.
Themes that, as co-editors, we believe signify the roots of Black life. So joy,
Mm-hmm.
pain, freedom, and love.
Mm.
And the most interesting thing about that project, well, maybe not the most interesting, but it is very interesting, is that all of the authors wrote in isolation.
Mm.
They selected their themes, they went away and wrote, and they submitted their stories to us editors. There's three editors. I'm one of them. And as the stories began to come in, we just could not get over
How
how
aligned?
we're aligned. Just absolutely aligned. And when people read the book, they're surprised to find out that the authors wrote in isolation, and they did not know what each other were writing, and in fact hadn't read the book until the day before it was published, like in totality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's very powerful. Didn't my team didn't find out that last bit about when the data published and the historic aspect of that. Wow.
Yeah.
What did that mean to and to the collective of authors and editors? What did that, like, beyond what you've expressed? What were some of the sentiments? What were the emotions? What were the feelings to the power of the timing?
Well, in the moment, I can tell you, none of us knew what it meant.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
it was with time, right? It was as
You're right.
unfold that we started to notice, people were writing us, people were calling us, they wanted various authors to write for them, speak, all sorts of things. I mean, right up until today, our authors, their work is either, being cited somewhere, or we're being asked to contribute, our voices. So, it's interesting. I think that's a great question, because next year's our 5th anniversary of Collecting Courage, and I would love for the authors to actually answer that question individually, because I think our answers would be different in a variety of ways, right?
Maybe I need to run an event, and a part of my skin event, and bring you guys all on
that
to
sounds
talk.
like
That'd be kind of cool. That might be something to talk about. I'm gonna read the book. Something to I'm gonna read the book.
I do know that several of our authors, this was the first time that they had ever written about their experiences. And I know one of them, my brother Medea Carusi, said as soon as he sat down to write, he couldn't stop. Just was pouring out. He has one of the longest stories in the book, and he said, and I cut that, so there's a therapeutic element
to it as well. Yeah. Well, team, my team's listening, so just mark that down. Let's see if there's an opportunity there.
Absolutely.
Wow, that was good. I didn't know I didn't know you were going there with the first question. I just I should just sit back and say, is there anything else you'd like to add? So I think a question that came up for me that I'd be interested to know is, fundamentally now, have you seen a shift? Have you seen improvements in this space, unfortunately, since George Floyd as the anchor point?
This is a tricky question, because I think there's a number of ways to answer it. I think there is more courage to speak up
amongst the Black fundraisers.
Yes. I think that, so I believe courage begets courage. Right? And so I know that our Right to Heal, Collecting Courage, has been, a blueprint in a lot of ways for other people of color to speak their truth. I think truth telling is critical. but it takes a lot of courage to tell the truth, even about our own experience, especially about our own experiences, right? But also about what we witness, right? So I feel that there has been a perpetuation of courage, but courage is not the sort of thing you have and then you have it forever.
No, yeah.
That's what makes I think the answer to that question tricky, because I think you have to keep choosing courage. One of the reasons why we wanted the book to be called Collecting Courage, because it's something we have to do and do again. And so that's not just everyone else, that's us too, right? So, which is the reason on the website, our authors have written other stories, which we've published and put forward. And so, I see that. I see white people so the number one refrain or response that we've heard from white readers is, I had no idea. And so now what do I do? And so as editors, we took that question really seriously, and we designed a cohort modeled course to address that, to address, okay, so now what? It's called a path to action. So I think there's real value in white people waking up to the realities of racial injustice. But again, you have to stay awake.
Yes, that's the thing. Right? There's no fatigue, right?
Right. Like you have to, there's things you have to do to remain awake to those realities. Otherwise, the incentives of dominant culture are
always going to just revert.
Pull you back, into a life of comfort. So I think those two things are interesting, and there are some leaders who are very serious about investing in transformation in their organizations.
Yeah,
so that's been encouraging to see. But again, all of these things are not static. It's not.
It's continuous. It's on a continuum. Yeah. So because you went to organizations, there's a question that I do want to ask because I am actually really. First of all, do you remember what I said about the time of this episode?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just say we just broke the rule. Okay. So in what ways do you think leaders, can better understand and leverage the impact of identity on organizational culture and equity outcomes?
Well, I believe that our identities influence the culture around us, especially when we're leaders and we have power, right? And so depending on your identity and your understanding of it determines the type of culture you'll have in your organization. And so my work in coaching both individuals and their teams really centers on understanding ourselves first. I believe the pursuit of racial justice begins with the individual.
Irrespective of race. That is
irrespective of race.
Yeah.
You have to go in before you can move outward. Right? And so some of us understand our identities much, much more than others. Some of us haven't been given room to really express our identities as we know them. And some people are completely oblivious about their identities and the impact that they have on the creation of culture. I love what Resmaa Menakem in his book, My Grandmother Hands, writes about culture and how it is everything around us.
It's not just one thing.
Not one thing. It's everything. It's what we see on the walls. It's the color of the walls. The words that we speak. It's the rules that we implement. It's everything, right? And so for those folks who don't know much about their identity and have never felt compelled to know very much about their identity, they're also invited in. Begin to express that and to not just express it in isolation, but express it within our current context.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a relationship between who we are and where we are
Mm-hmm.
that has to be understood. And somewhere in between, if you're a leader, our organizations play a role.
Mm-hmm. So if a leader came to you and said, Nneka, help me help my team individually gather self-awareness about their identity, how might that look? What could that look like?
Absolutely. It looks like one-on-one coaching. I have a coaching program, racial liberation coaching. It's 12 weeks. We look at identity, we look at context, we look at values, we look at strengths, we look at the process of decolonization, right? In conjunction with identity, values, strengths, context. And then we apply it to the organization. So, okay, so now what's our role and responsibility to the organization with these new understandings? And what's our role and responsibility in our lives, just generally, right? And so I've been doing that work for several years with leaders, and I've coached leaders and their entire teams individually in this space, and it's transformational. It's not just for them, for me too.
Yeah, I can imagine. And because can't lie, is there's organizations that are listening to this. What play does it have on productivity, on business value, on like just overall I know I maybe say culture, right? Now I can use that. Maybe just overall culture and how people see one another. What has been your observations?
I think the one thread that I think is true throughout all of my clients is that when we decolonize our lives, when we confront the ways in which white patriarchy oppresses us, and we begin to address that, we become more humane. And when we become more humane, I think we are better positioned to do our work well, right? When we have a clear sense of who we are in this world, the value of that can actually emerge into the work. One of the organizations that I work with, when we were in the midst of doing, so I had coached all of the leaders of that team, and they had done their individual values, but they had not come together as a team to discuss and to share those values and then begin to talk about the values that they want for their organization. We brought them together to do that, and the leader, the CEO, towards the end said, I'm learning that the most valuable thing that each of my team members bring are these values in themselves to this organization.
Of course.
And so I would say it's through that discovery, through that articulation, through clarifying. It's not just the values, but the behaviors associated with the values, right? And a commitment to them that actually improve the quality of the work.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I didn't have you as a coach. I certainly, and it was way pre George Floyd, but I had a life situation that prompted, or the domino effect of it, right? Like the culmination of all of it prompted me to start on my own personal self-development journey. And that took me to this moment, this catalytic moment where I listened to, because sometimes you hear things, and when you hear something that touches you at the right time, I love the word that you used earlier. I'll use it, is be obedient. Be obedient, double click. Yeah. And so Simon Sinek was sharing a story about the difference between corporate and military. And that in military, they hand out medals to people who have given their lives who gave up their lives so that others may survive. Whereas in corporate, they give up people so that the corporation may survive. And wouldn't it be awesome if we could flip that for corporate and what it would be like. There would never be a bottom line that couldn't be met.
That's
you know?
right.
And I made a decision on that day. I was working for a 90,000 employee organization, pretty prominent here in Canada, 26 million customers. I made a decision on that day that I was going to fire myself as an employee and deploy myself to the organization. And it resonates with me, like sort of what you just spoke about, sort of like that was me fully embracing my identity, and realizing also there was just a sense of air, like almost like this oxygen need to live in that and not deter because of everything that's happening around me. And now I'm just on a mission to help more people feel that as well, because I think that changes culture.
Absolutely. When you're talking, I was thinking about, the move from the transactional to the relational.
Yeah.
Relational is not just about relationship with other people, it's also relationship with yourself.
Deep within yourself. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Imagine an organization where people are in meetings, and it's so funny. Michael Singer, I'm gonna just use him. He has a book called The Untethered Soul. And in The Untethered Soul, he talks about I am the one who sees. Yes. So imagine an organization of people who live from that lens. I am the one who sees. So they're sitting in a meeting and they're seeing this meeting, and imagine everybody is now showing up in a way like what we couldn't accomplish. So
absolutely.
Yeah. I'm very much optimistic that we can get there, but it takes little, like yourself coaching big organizations, me living it in an organization. Make it happen. Yeah.
I agree with that.
You were an amazing find. Like I haven't even, let me just say they put some work together. So let me just try and ask another question from the list. Okay. Okay, team. I honor the work you're doing. Well, what future projects or initiatives are you most excited about, and what impact do you hope to achieve with them? Or what's your biggest, or even I can expand on that. Like, what's your biggest hope with all the work that you're doing? What's your biggest hope right now?
Hope is so powerful. And there's such a relationship between hope and Afrofuturism and our ability to dream together. I think we need more dreaming together. And in order to dream together, we need to be rested. And in order to be rested, we have to actually understand how white supremacy culture has designed a social environment that does not incentivize our rest, right? So, if I back up from the dreaming, I really feel like I want more people to come into the truth of the oppression of white patriarchy, colonialism, and begin to detach themselves from it so that we can recognize ourselves as kin again and begin dreaming together about another way of being in this world.
And I think what I love about what you just said, and that was just so beautiful, by the way. And your eyes were closed, and I know you were just, that came to you.
It did, yeah.
Was that it's for everybody. It was a very inclusive message. Yeah.
It is for everybody. Yeah. We can't change the power dynamics that currently oppress us in isolation or in silos. It's going to require all of us.
We need to do it together. You have a new friend. I'm a fan. So I'm going to take you through rapid thrivers.
All right. I'm not good at this, but okay.
So when you think of someone who inspires you, who comes first to mind?
See, I told you I'm not good at this.
Oh, you actually didn't tell me that. She totally did not tell me.
Okay.
She thinks she don't have the note.
Because you know what happens, like 5,000 names come to my head all the time. Let me say this. I would say Madam Justice Beth Allen. That's my aunt. She's a retired Superior Court judge, and she is the reason why I know how to fight.
Oh, wow. It's powerful. Okay. What is a daily activity? Let me ask you that one first. That has helped you with your Thrive. I know you're looking around your books.
Oh, yes. So every night I am reading Black Liturgies by Cole Arthur Riley. It will change you.
This is the book. So
it's called Black Liturgies.
Black Liturgies. Okay. I will find that. I will put it in there.
Cole Arthur Riley.
Cole Arthur Riley. And what is a daily activity that helps you with your Thrive?
Oh, I wake up very early in the morning and I drag myself to the gym. I hate the gym, but the gym is good for my body.
Yes, it is.
And
mind and yes.
Yes. But particularly my body, as I'm about to be 50. And what I'm coming to really appreciate about that is it's also really dedicated, focused time on my body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not just I want to look nice or I want to feel good. It's those things, but it's also dedicated time focusing not just like on the inner part of myself, which I can spend a lot of time there, right? But is also like really tangibly like doing work that nourishes like the muscles and
Amen. I give you that. I've been in the gym pumping weight since I was 18 and I'm 50. I'll be 52 next month. It's worth it.
It is worth it. It is worth it. I don't love it, but it is worth it.
An app on your phone that helps you with your Thrive.
App on my phone that helps me with my Thrive. That's kind of funny. So I'm gonna go with what first came to my mind, which is Ofur, which is
the clothing store. Okay, so first of all, I don't have the app, but if you have the app, that's a lot.
I have the app.
That's a lot. If you have that app, that's a lot of shopping, man.
But I don't always have to buy. Like sometimes I'm just looking.
You're just looking. Okay.
But I do buy too. But
yes, I do have a couple. I do have quite a few number of pieces.
But I love that you knew. I was like,
The first thing I ever bought from Ofur was a dress called Nkechi. It was the Nkechi print.
I love that. Well, you'd have to buy that.
Yeah, I had to buy it, and then I was hooked. And then I've been buying. I buy a lot of outfits. Anytime I'm taking the stage, I typically am wearing like an Ofur. Or have you Ace Couture?
No, I don't. Okay,
yeah, they don't have an app, but Ace Couture is another nice African. Yeah. Okay. And she's here in Brampton.
Is that ACE?
ACE and Couture with a K. Then there's also Kayla K. She's amazing, Nigerian girl. Yeah, I love. Do you know Carlin Priscilla Merseca? Yeah, we'll have a little bit. What do you call it after the episode? Like
a little dated.
Yeah, we'll talk. Yeah, you got to check out Carlin. I just love. I think why I'm bringing it here is because she promotes buying from Black.
I love that.
I love it, and I mean, there's no one I know that does it better than she.
Okay, then I must be.
No one. I don't even think she like maybe electricity she has to buy from like.
Right. I'm all for that.
Yeah, maybe banks and stuff, but clothing, everything else. I'll send you her link, and I'm gonna give her flowers on this podcast. Like she's worth following on Instagram. Like it's for me to say that because I only have 20 minutes a day. Hers is a post I will look for. Yeah.
I love that. Yes, I've been purchasing shoes from Manitoba, an Indigenous store out of the prairies.
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff.
And I love it. You have to share that too. Yeah.
Yes, I will. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to do more of that and share more of the opportunities as well. Yeah.
Exactly.
What is one misconception that people have of you as they see you doing the work that you're doing, maybe in your Thrive?
So my name, Nneka Allen, means tender, beautiful flower. And I can guarantee you the majority of people who see me work would not guess how tender I am, actually.
Because is your auntie that taught you how to fight?
Mhm.
Yeah, just taught you how to fight.
Yeah,
Sorry.
absolutely. And she needed to,
Yeah.
given the environment I was in.
But you're
But
tender.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and so, as I age, something that I've been really focused on is expressing more of those vulnerable parts of
Yeah.
myself so
Yeah.
that there can be a more balanced appreciation or understanding of who
Yeah. I am.
not just important for me as an individual, but I think it's important for Black women because too often, you know, our our tenderness, our soft spots are not honored.
Hmm. You know, today, like today, as we're recording this podcast, literally before this, just maybe about 30, 40 minutes before, I was having a conversation with somebody. And I said that my significant, like over the last few days, especially, just how my significant other has been showing up for me. It's allowed my alpha male to like just kind of like take a little bit of a break. And you don't realize how healing that is,
Mm-hmm.
or resting that is.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it lets you settle into yourself in ways that are fairly infrequent,
Mm-hmm,
you
mm-hmm,
know.
mm-hmm. And typically, my gosh, we can go on to another. I mean, I'm in tech. So
Mm-hmm.
back to the start of the conversation. I'm in tech and
Yes,
I'm a vice
full
president of the
circle.
company that I'm back, right? And so actually, you know what? I am breaking all the rules because I typically have a question for you because it was something I was going to ask you earlier. And I was like, yeah, maybe we'll do this after, but I'm going to do it in an episode because I often talk about it and I love to get your mindset around it. But yeah, the alpha male's been alive for, it's part of my identity. Like it almost feels like you know what I mean? And to release it has been actually so freeing. But so one of the things I've often said, and it's my story, my journey, is that I have found the power of being the only, not because it's the right thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
and not even because it's a survival mechanism for me, but the power came when I truly locked into who I was as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I walk into a room, I'm actually a human being walking in because I don't know on that lineup where God was just sort of creating man and woman
Mm-hmm.
where I like how the decisions that were made. Like this one
Right.
is going to be boisterous and loud
Yes.
laugh, and let's just throw some color on her and on this.
Yes.
And then you know what? We don't have enough females today. So that for me, I say there's power in when you know you're the only person in that room with that DNA, that makeup, that combination of skills and talents and abilities, and you sit at that table. Then I love the mix. I think that you said today is then you know there's a responsibility as to why you're there.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives you the energy to be able to do that work. Like kind of like that's kind of what I took from what you said. Like I can't remember how you put it, but you really talked about when you recognize that you were being called to the work and there was
Yep.
something that for you to do here.
Yep.
That's where I think the power only.
Absolutely. My mother would say, nobody can beat you at being you.
Hey, that's
Right.
might be the quote of this episode.
Yeah, nobody can beat you at being you. And that is a powerful reminder that nobody is sharing, nobody's going to come into this space with all of what you bring, your experiences, your
Mm,
talents, your personality,
mm,
no, only you.
only you. That said, though, doesn't put you off the hook. I think then what happens and what I believe has been ascribed to my human is a responsibility to look around and
Yeah.
making sure that the rooms I'm in are equitable, are
Yeah.
diverse, are, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. It's that relationship between knowing ourselves and who we are, but also who the other people around us are.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? It's always the two. It's never one or the other. It's always
Mm-hmm.
both, right? Because if it's only one, it's out of balance. It becomes
Mm-hmm.
self-involved and
Mm-hmm.
a whole bunch of things emerge from that. And if it's only focused on others, we end up with a lot of weird practices like, saviorism and all kinds of wild things, right? That are problematic. It has to be both, right? It has to be a beautiful balance between those two things. And I believe that, we have personal power, but our collective power can't come from just one person. It comes from the community.
Oh. Thank you. So that, and I like your episode 200 and 200 and they didn't put it on here, but 200 and oh, come on, what's that number? Nneka Allen, 287.
287.
And I have to say, this has been one of the most empowering ones for me. Like I know it's for 1 billion people because that's the mission, but I feel this one might have just, I think maybe this one, there's something here for me. So thank you.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful compliment. And thank you for finding me and for inviting me into this space to share with you. You two have made a friend.
Thank you. So we're not done yet. Where do we find more of you online?
You can find me at theempathyAgency.ca or on LinkedIn, either through the Empathy Agency or Nneka Allen, or on Instagram.
Both.
Okay,
awesome. And parting question, what does empowered in my skin mean to you? Get ready for it.
So I'm a dancer. My favorite thing in this world is dance. And so nothing makes me feel more alive and empowered and like fully present in my skin than dancing.
Wow. That's beautiful. Well, I'm giving you your flowers. You are incredibly awesome. Keep doing the amazing work. Rest. You deserve it every single day as much as possible. And keep serving in this world in the beautiful way that you are doing. And you are making a difference. And you made a difference today in my life and the life of those that are listening. And I really do appreciate you. You're a wonderful, amazing, talented, and heartwarming, intentional, thoughtful human being. Yeah. There's a lot going on in there.
Thank you. This has been great fun. Yeah.
It's very been enriching. And to everyone that's listening, this is sadly where I have to say we're out. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There you have it. I trust that you're feeling more empowered in your skin. And as the late Dr. Maya Angelou says, when you get, you give, when you learn, you teach. So it would mean so much for us at EIMS if you share this episode and tag us or teach an insight that you learned from today's episode on your socials and tag us. And remember to go over onto iTunes and leave us a review or follow us on socials at Empowered in My Skin. But most importantly, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode.